I will circle back to the survey question that we asked at the outset about transforming intention into action. And we asked everyone here what got in the way. And I'll touch on the top four because they really did rise to the top. The number one was feeling overwhelmed and shutting down. So I have some good questions that relate to this that I'll come back to. Number two, losing motivation before a new habit is solidified. Then feeling stressed and falling back into kind of old habits. And then the fourth was executive dysfunction interfering with planning skills. So these obviously overlap and intermingle quite a bit.
Yeah.
But going into the feeling overwhelmed and shutting down, we got a couple of great questions on this topic. Someone wrote in and said, every time I'm doing something, I feel like I should be doing something else. And I just get stressed out and stop. Another person talked about feeling like they were buried under a mountain of tasks. If they get the motivation to start, they feel like they should be doing something else. And so they never feel like they're doing the right thing and they never get any momentum. This leads to overwhelm and shutting down. So I feel like these questions, the root of it is that prioritization that you were talking about and being not feeling like you have to be wedded to doing one perfect thing. And I wonder if you can talk about that and kind of trickiness of momentum.
Yeah. Look, this is a universal thing, right? We all need to figure out what our priorities are and as they adapt as our lives shift. But part of the problem is if you're completely overwhelmed and you're just barely keeping your head above water, it doesn't give any space to really kind of think about what am I doing here? Either at the micro level of here's a thing I could do or someone asked me to do it. Should I even do it? And if I do, how much time do I give it? But also kind of at the more macro level of like, is this really working for me? Like, is this, for example, is this even the job for me? Maybe it's not, right? Maybe it takes too big a toll for what it gives. So part of this then is to try to carve out a little bit of time to be able to think about like, what am I doing here? And that's, again, at the macro level of like big picture thinking and to talk to your partner if you have one. But also at the micro level to sort of take some time through your day to try to plan things out a little bit so you're not just reacting, because plenty of stuff's going to come at you, right? There's always stuff coming at you. But just because it's coming at you doesn't mean it has to be done, or it doesn't mean it has to be done in somebody else's time frame. So, to try to cultivate a little bit of breathing room in your schedule to really kind of think about it and not just try to do everything to keep your head above water, because there's no amount of efficient productivity that's going to be able to do every single thing that's going to come at you.
Gotcha. Okay. As I said, a lot of these overlap, but the next theme that we saw was that of losing motivation. And we got a great question from someone who said that they've noticed when they set long-term goals, like 3 months to a year, with sort of daily or weekly small actions, that they really struggle to stay consistent. And they wonder if you have advice, should they be setting shorter term goals or focus more intensively on them for like a day instead of 3 months? Any goal setting strategies that can help maintain the motivation that does seem to fall away?
Yeah, this is definitely like, again, this is a universal. Everybody's going to be more motivated by the goal of today or tomorrow than the goal of a year from now, right? Because it's harder to kind of feel that future. So the advice that I give is to kind of focus on process, right? Rather than sort of the outcome. So in other words, to reach this goal 3 months from now or a year from now or whatever, like, what am I doing on a day by day or a week by week kind of a basis, right? And to try to sort of think about how can I add this into my schedule? How can I sort of get something from the process of doing it? Especially if it's something like, a long-term goal, if it takes too long to get the benefit, it's not going to feel good, right? So I don't know, let's say you're saving, for a down payment for a house. Could take you a long time until you get there. So rather, to focus more on the process of, setting up an automatic deduction from your check, or, I'm going to make a point of, making my own lunch every day because that's a thing that's important to me, because it's important for, healthy eating, or I like the food a bit better, or I don't feel so gross after I eat, or, I feel better in the afternoon if I've made my own, if I, brought a healthier lunch with me. I feel good about the fact that I'm doing this and taking care of myself, right? Those are more immediate rewards. So to try to connect to what are the benefits that are going to come sooner, rather than hoping that this far off benefit is going to motivate you in the moment, because it doesn't pull as hard on our behavior, and it's easier to lose the motivation.
Absolutely. Yeah. That long time horizon is just impossible to feel. Yeah. Okay. So the third theme we saw was feeling stressed and falling back on old habits. Obviously, stress has so many origins, but one that I'm seeing a ton of in our comments today is anxiety and discomfort about starting a task. And obviously this anxiety can come from a lot of different places, but it just feeds on itself. And I wonder about those who do experience anxiety around the task initiation, especially if it's something scary like taxes, or just non-preferred like doing dishes. Any advice, mantras, co-working hacks, anything that can help to alleviate that feeling of anxiety?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it is very well studied that under stress, new habits fall away, right? Under stress, we revert to the old habits. So like that is well known. But I think that, even in what you said, right, you mentioned a few different options, and like in the book, I sort of broke it down into a number of different options as well. But to really get specific about what it is that you're anxious about. So for example, maybe it's about ambiguity, meaning I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with this. I know my boss said to do something, but I'm not entirely clear on what it is. And that makes me uncomfortable. And now I don't want to deal with it. Right? Maybe it's ambiguity. And then the quick answer is I got to figure out what the hell I'm doing. Maybe, as I mentioned, it's more ambivalence, right? I haven't decided if I'm actually in on this or not. So that's the thing I need to do, is pick a side on this. Or maybe it's overwhelming because I feel like there's too many things and I can't decide among all of them, right? So I need to actually spend some time to think about it and to figure out like what exactly am I doing here? Or I need to begin to make some choices. Can't consider every possibility. So like I'm going to make a few decisions that are going to begin to narrow my options, and then I can figure it out. Or the problem is I don't know how to do this, right? I am missing some information and I need to find somebody else who can, or I need to look something up online or go back to the instructions, or like I need to better understand what I'm doing with this task. So like anxiety is pretty broad. So let's sort of step back a moment and really get clear on what is going on. Why am I feeling anxious? Because once you know why, it points you in a much kind of narrower range of options of perhaps what you can do about it.
Absolutely true. And we have a couple of people chiming in with the things that have worked for them to kind of overcome that task initiation anxiety. And someone said they tell themselves they only have to work on it for 20 minutes, just 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
or even
someone
2
else.
minutes.
Yeah, right. And someone else wrote in to say, tell yourself it's okay to miss a day. Just don't miss the next one. So chunking and forgiving, right? Those are powerful tools. The trick is using them. And then the fourth theme that we saw again. Sorry, go ahead.
If I could just throw this in, I think, the lesson here is there's no one size fits all strategy. Right. And I'm going to sort of pull a quote I use a lot, which is a problem well understood is a problem half solved, right? Like the more specific and clear you can get on like what exactly is getting in my way here, it really narrows your options. So you're not throwing a lot of the wrong solutions at, the wrong problems, so to speak, right? So I'm just going to spend 2 minutes or 20 minutes doing it is great if I kind of know what I need to do, but I just don't want to do it. But if I don't understand the problem, like I don't know how to do this, or I don't know what my boss really asked me to do, spending 20 minutes isn't helpful because I'm probably not doing anything that really moves the ball down the field, right? So if that's the problem, I need to do something else other than just banging my head against a wall for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. No, important reminder. Absolutely. And it kind of dovetails. I mean, all of this comes together with that fourth theme that we saw in the survey, which was executive function skills, interfering with planning. And we know that there's no shortcut, as you said, to working on those executive function skills. But any last words on that theme, one which you have done whole webinars on for Attitude in the past, on that challenge for our last question?
I mean, I think the thing I would say is, besides go back to the webinar I did for you guys, and I've done writing and presenting on executive functions, and lots of other people do as well. So just generally kind of the more you can understand about executive functions and ADHD and yourself specifically, I think the better prepared you are to know what to do in any particular situation. But I think what I would also say is don't set yourself up to expect your executive functions to do more they can do, right? So if you're sitting in a distracting environment and you're getting distracted, exactly, like that's how it's supposed to work. So either you need to accept the fact you're going to be distracted a lot, and maybe that's fine. Or if you really want to get more done, then you need to accept the fact that, like, I think I need to get rid of some of these distractions, for just as one example. Or the old, I don't have to write that down, I'll just remember it. You know, okay, sweet. You want to put any money on that? I'll give you, how about $100? Let's bet $100 that you're going to just remember it. Or, you know, other things like that, that just holding it in your head or processing in your head may not be the way to do it. In that a lot of managing ADHD is about kind of managing your environment in the situation around you, using the right tools and systems to complement what you can do inside your head, which is really kind of what anybody does. You know, most good ADHD friendly strategies, they're just good strategies. Most people would benefit from them, but some people kind of need them a little bit more than others.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And for those of you who are interested in watching Dr. Tuckman's excellent webinar on executive function and ADHD, we will provide a link for you so you can replay that. And in short, some people are asking, what is executive function? Kind of the planning, prioritizing, and executing skills of daily life, which are generally impaired in people with ADHD. So, okay, we are over time, but Dr. Tuckman, thank you so much for joining us today and for contributing your voice, your strategies, your insight to this ADHD community of ours.
My pleasure. Happy to do it.